All right, welcome everyone to episode 7 of the Ninja Wealth Exchange. So, Lor here with Johnny Vang. We're both Vangs here. We just got back from EXPCon Miami, and that was quite an event. Hopefully, you guys had time to watch our live streams from there as we interviewed attendees and everything like that. So, today's episode, we're going to continue with the theme of the show here, right? So, how do we build wealth? And so, Johnny and I, we're deeply invested in real estate, right? Real estate is our vehicle that we use to build wealth. And so, in today's episode, we figured, you know what, today we're going to actually share what we actually do, right? What are our blueprint that we're using to build our wealth here, and whether you want to duplicate it or whether you're curious, right, about how we go about doing things here. This is a great episode for you to learn and follow along. So first question here, right, is obviously the foundation. So why did we decide to choose real estate as that vehicle? So I'm gonna let Johnny go ahead and answer that.
Yeah. So, to be honest, so I bought my first house when I was 21. And so that was a long time ago. More than half my life ago. So I bought my first house at the age of 21, and as time went on, I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book a long time ago, probably around the age of like 25. I also, you stay up at late at night, right? And you're watching infomercials, and there's this one that came on about sales of deeds, or tax lien deeds, tax deeds, tax liens, and stuff like that, where you can go in and you can invest in some of them, and then sometimes capture the property. And I so want to get into it, right? Because I was like, they're buying properties for $100, and then they're selling it for, like, 100,000, and they're making like tons of money, and it sounded really interesting. But even at that time, when I looked into it, and you jump into that kind of stuff, um and you go to the auctions and stuff, there's tons of competition, right? So I was like, okay, well, I didn't have enough money to go up against those guys, and so I moved on. But over time, I felt like owning my home allowed me to have access to a ton of equity, right? We're able to use the equity from my house to purchase rental properties, to purchase business equipment, and so on. And my thoughts are is that, yeah, everybody needs to own a home, right? Every single person out there should go and at least have a primary home. Even if you don't want to live in it and you want to rent, at least buy one so you can rent it out, so that you can build some equity over time. And I think in the last few years, the increase in home values have moved with inflation, which is pretty significant growth, right, over the last few years. In addition to that, like, how many other things can you highly leverage, right? Like, when I first bought my house, I got 100% financing, and the sellers paid for my closing costs, right? And of course, that was in the heydays, right? And I was already a mortgage at that time, and they were doing 125% LTV, which is insane, right? You can't do that anymore. But um like, people are getting cash back at closing, which is crazy. But anyways, I think that that's super necessary. On top of that, if you want to grow I think one of the biggest things about real estate is that, not only can it be highly leveraged, right? So, like, you're leveraging someone else's money to grow at a percentage that's consistent with inflation, but this loan amount is significant, right? This house value is like maybe 200 back in the days, to nowadays more like, in my neck of the woods, we're seeing average home prices at about 400,000, right? So you're able to get a loan for 400,000, you're going to be growing at 4% for 400,000. That grows a lot faster than if you were to try to grow, one paycheck at a time, maybe $700 a month or something like that. It just doesn't move as fast. So I think owning a home is great. Now, when it comes to renting, and I think you do this too, Laura, when you rent out your home, someone else pays for the principal which becomes equity. Someone else pays for the repairs of the house, right? Now, when I say pay for the repairs of the house, like I charge enough rent to create a cushion for capital expenditures, right? Which means your roof, your windows, your refrigerator, your like all these other costs, right? And then they pay for utilities and they pay for lawn care and so on. So my thoughts are is that when you're renting a home, they're building equity for you, so now you're able to leverage up to, if you're buying an investment property itself, maybe not a second home but an investment property, you're looking at 15% down, right, on a conventional loan, and then you're leveraging 85%. So how can you leverage, like, what else can you leverage that much in? Like, I do some stocks, and we can only leverage up to like maybe 50%, but in real estate we're leveraging like 85%. We're leveraging sometimes, like if it's your first home and you're buying a multi-unit, right, you're leveraging up a ton, right? So my thoughts are is that that's super important. And then finally, commercial real estate, I think commercial real estate is really cool, and the reason why commercial real estate is really cool is because you can actually go buy something, right? And as you increase, let's say, for example, commercial real estate, specifically multifamily, right? Because we're talking about real estate here. Now, commercial real estate can involve in industrial, retail, multifamilies, and then there's more out there, right? But if you're talking about just multifamily, if you go in there and the next year, come when the lease expires, you're able to increase rent on all. Let's say you have 100 units and you increase it by $50 per unit, dude, you're making good money, right? Just from the rate, from the increases. But what's even better is that when that property is being sold, it's being analyzed based on the income itself, right? And so, man, like, you can build wealth way faster than some of these other things. And if you add in, like recently, I heard there was a reel out there for the short term shop, and the person had said, um, "What is it? When we buy a short term rental, we're renting it out. We're covering the rent or the mortgage, right? On top of covering the mortgage, we're getting probably like uh the amount of the mortgage, right? Then we got accelerated depreciation. On top of that, we have the ability to write off the cost of the things, the expenses of the property, right? And we have a vacation home, and there's like there's so much to it. And if you're looking to do a real estate business, that it gives you so many different aspects. Like, not only are we doing all that, we're also deducting interest, right, on our taxes. And so it helps out a ton when you're able to invest. Now, that I think everybody needs to get into some kind of real estate investing. It's hard assets, right? When you lose 100% of your stocks, dude, that's like 100% gone, right? But when you like, when, say, for example, something goes bad, you still own a home, right? You still have the ability to rent it out, do something creative with it before you even sell it, right? There's plenty of like contract for deed, lease options. You have different way of handling things. You could do a leasehold, right? A leasehold meaning like you own the land and they come in, they buy the house, and then you're always renting the land for the rest of your life, right? um Dude, there's so many avenues where you can make so much money, and it's more than just oftentimes when we're doing our transactions, we're making more than just 4% year over year. Or even, like, my thoughts are is that I've made from the bird that I did. I've definitely increased that amount by almost 100%, right? We bought it, I put in about 150,000, and now it's worth about 300,000. You're looking at a pretty significant increase year over year. So I mean, that one, for that house, it's probably been about like 5 years. So there's definitely ways where you can make just a ton of money. Now, what's your experience, Laura, with
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, wow, you answered quite a lot there. You were all
yeah.
all over the place. But yeah, you went a little bit ahead, but, anyway, one of the right? The reasons why we choose to do real estate, right? Like you mentioned, it is a human need, right?
Mhm.
Right next to food, everybody needs shelter, right? And so
Mhm.
that right there is one of the biggest reasons why you and I we work in real estate because everybody needs it, right? Um, and then from there, you talked about leveraging, right? Which, if you don't understand what leveraging means, it means essentially borrowing money from the bank, right, or somebody else, right? So there's a minimum requirement down payment that you put down, say 5%, 25%, somewhere around there, usually, and then the bank brings the rest, right, or the lender. This type of purchase, I mean, allows you to leverage, just a little bit of your money, but you're using a lot of the other person or the other lender's money, right? That's mostly their skin in the game. Um, so that's how you can really grow your wealth. And then you start talking about real estate investing, which it does come naturally at some point for most people when they get to a certain level of wealth, of income in their life. When they start making a certain level of money, they start to think, well, what should I do with all this money, right? um, and then of course you mentioned rentals, right, which both of us own, we've done. And obviously when you have a full-time job, your W2 income, whatever it might be, or you're self-employed, um, you know, that's one stream of income. And then when you add a rental property, one rental property, that's another stream of income. Two rental properties,
Mhm.
that's two more, right?
Yeah.
And something, that you mentioned, Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's a book that I've read where they really educate you about how to put your money to work, the four different cash flow quadrants, right?
Mhm.
And that's something that I experienced in my own personal life where I thought I was set with a great W-2. I was an engineer, and then all of a sudden, making good money, and then all of a sudden I got laid off, right? Um, so the great job, the great security I thought I had, it was gone in a second, right? And so I had actually read that book before, a little bit before I lost my job. And so at that point, when you hit rock bottom, you're like, dude, you know what? Let me just take that risk, right? I need to build a certain stream of income that I can control, right? And so that's kind of why I decided to jump into real estate initially, and that's where I went, right? So, um, and then now, we talked about real estate investing, right? So, like you mentioned, there's so many different kinds of real estate investing. You already mentioned like rentals, short-term rentals, commercial, right? You already talked about all that. Of course, there's flips, right? Which flips is more, it's kind of like gambling. It's you're
I wouldn't
hoping
call it gambling. Do not
you're
gamble in flips. You will lose every time.
you're hoping that you're gonna it is, it's a kind of an educated gamble, right? Like, hey, I if I buy for this price and it needs about this much to repair, and then when I sell it, I should earn this much back, right? But I work with a lot of flippers, and pretty much every single flipper is like, dude, the surprise happened. Like, I had to put more money into it. Like either the HVAC or the roof or something major, you know, went bad. And they're like, in order to sell this and make the money that I need to actually fix it for somebody to actually buy it, right? And then one other thing that you do, private money lending, right? That's another way that you can
Mhm.
create another source of income. A little bit less risky. That's kind of an interesting one, right? Being the bank yourself, right? Lending money for other people's deals. So that's something that is pretty low activity involvement, right? You're not the one
Mhm.
flipping the house. You're not the one swinging the hammers, things like that, right? But you are underwriting the deal. And so, um, with you already being a loan officer, investor, underwriter, your past life, you know how to look at these
Yeah.
deals, right? What's a good one? What's a bad one?
Absolutely, absolutely. I wanted to add, like if you're looking at it from a general perspective, right? Everybody needs a home, right?
Mhm.
Like you said earlier, everybody needs a home, and how better could you help the community by one, making it look better, right? Fix and flip. You're going in, you're fixing up the house, you're upgrading the neighborhood, you're making it better, right? Two, if you're renting, right, you're providing housing for people, and you get to decide kind of, like, of course, there's always market rate, but if you see someone that is in real need, you get to decide if you want to, make the rate cheaper. Like one of my houses right now, I'm not renting it at market value. Market value is probably like $2,500 a month. And this family came in and they were like, there's only two of them. It's a 5-bedroom home, but there's only two of them. They're like, we really like your house and we really need to be able to help. And so for me, for my tenants, I qualify my tenants, right? They have to fit in a specific bracket. They have to have at least 640 FICO score or higher. They have to have uh like 2 months of basically coverage to be able to pay for their security deposit and their rent. They have to have at least 3 times rent, right? So if they in income, right? So if they have income of, or if the rent is 2,000, they're going to be looking at having at least 6,000 a month in income. And if they don't have that, the likelihood is they probably can't pay for your house. So and so I look at all these different things, and of course, this lady, everything qualifies. But the thing is that $2,500 a month is just way too much for two people. And so after talking to her, I was like, you know what, I can give you a little bit of a discount, but just know that year over year we're going to be increasing the lease, right? So we started her at about 1850 or something like that, and year over year we've been increasing it. But she's been able to manage the payments, and you're really helping. Like, she's a single mom with a daughter. You're really helping these people out. You're really changing people's lives. And so at the end of the day, I think that some of the things that we do, dude, we're providing opportunity for people to have a better lifestyle. We're providing them to have a better neighborhood. We're providing for them to have places to vacation, right? And something that's going to be cheaper but nicer to be with, especially like if you ever vacation with like 6 people, right? And everybody's in a hotel. You're kind of in your own hotel room. The only place you can really hang out is like the bar or the hotel lobby. And if it's full of people, it makes it really, really hard for you just to have a good conversation. So you don't really want people to go into your room, right? Because now they're sitting on your bed and everything. That's kind of like, it's messy. So you do an Airbnb, and now you got a dining table or a living room where you guys can actually come together and sit together and have a good time, right? So like we're really helping people, right? And it's really changing lives. And I think
Mhm.
that that's the main reason why I got into it, is not only can it change lives like that, but it can
Yep.
also change lives as in building wealth for people, right? So
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
it's huge, dude. I think it's
Right.
huge.
Right. And that's something we'll get into a little bit more. But I want to go back to um something we forgot to talk about a little bit, I guess, is with real estate, right? Why we chose it for wealth building. The huge thing is that the tax code, right? There's certain tax rules that incentivize people to invest in real estate, to own real estate, right? And
Hmm.
so, we're talking like, tax write-offs, right? We're talking bonus depreciation, all sorts of things, right? That they reward you. And then the other thing is that, there's certain people out there that think that having a mortgage is bad debt, right? That you should work as soon as possible to pay off a home, right? Or a mortgage, right? And something as we learn in being in real estate as investors is that, you know, you can actually, like you talked about, you can leverage equity, right? You're building equity in your house. You can leverage that to use it as income. And that is something that you don't get taxed on, right? So when
Hmm.
you do a cash out refinance, right, on whether your house is paid off completely or you built up some equity and you just want to use that equity to do, say, a remodel, or there's people who take equity out to go take a vacation, right? Whatever, right? Whatever they want to do, that's on them. But the event of you borrowing money against your house, it's not a taxable event. So if you have $100,000 of equity and you come to me or Johnny or any loan officer, hey, I got a bunch of equity in my house. I wanted to pull that out and use it to do something with. Okay, cool. Well, you could do that as long as you get, you're qualified, right? And you will not get taxed on that 100K. Now, alternatively, if you went and got a second job and you made another 100,000, hmm, that's going to be taxed, right? So
Mhm.
that's something that's super powerful that a lot of people should be aware of, right? And so that is why a lot of real estate investors invest, right? When they build equity, right? The Burr method, right? They buy,
Mhm.
repair, rent, refi, right? So you can recapture your money back out. And there's even a lot of people who buy cash, right? Buy properties cash, and then on the front end, right, at a good lower deal, put in some sweat equity, fix up the place, make it look nice, either rent it out or they just sell it or whatever, right? But they can go to us as loan officers and be like, hey, I need my money back so I can go buy more deals, right? So that's extremely powerful, right? Not a lot of people know about, or they don't quite understand that a mortgage is not necessarily bad debt, right? Anything you want to add there?
Yeah, yeah. So, like I'm to be honest, right? My property in St. Paul where like people are like, "Where did you get the $150,000 in order to fix up that property?" Right? And I'm like, "Well, I got it from, a home equity line of credit." Right? And that's same as cash, right? If you have a line of credit, you can go out there and you can make an offer and you can just say, "Hey, I'm paying cash." And they'll be like, "Okay, so how are we doing that?" Well, I'm going to move all my home equity funds into my account and I'm going to use it as cash and pay it right off. And so that's how I was able to, I had built up, a significant amount of equity. And so I did that, use that plus the cash that I had, and I was able to, put it into a home and fix it up. And like if I didn't own a home, it would have been impossible for me to do that flip, right? And like, or not flip, but that burr, right? So, other people that I know, does something similar. Like I actually have a friend, he goes out there and well, I don't know if he's still doing it, but for a while there, he became a millionaire from doing flips, right? So he worked full time, but then he did flips on the side. And so what he would do is he would buy a rundown house, turn around, repair it, right? He had a team that was helping him repair it. They would repair it, get it up to where he can rent it out. He would go back and he would get um what sometimes we would call a debt service coverage ratio loan or DSCR loan, right? Um and he would get 80% loan to value and get 20% where it's equity, and he didn't have to, like, so the rent would cover for the mortgage payment, right? And he would get 80% of it back, which was enough to cover, usually enough to cover for the cost that he incurred when buying the property, and then some more, so he had more capital to go do the next one, right?
Hmm.
And when he was able to do that, like he didn't have to put any money down because he already owned it. It was already being rented out. And so therefore the equity was considered his down payment. So he did a 80/20 DSCR loan.
Hmm.
Um, you don't even, when you're doing DSCR loans, you don't have to be employed, right? You don't have to be employed. You don't have to have income. It doesn't even matter because they're using the income from that specific property. As long as you have good credit score, the assets to do it, or maybe the equity to do it, to come and do the refinance, and maybe a little bit of cash, like you're going to need approximately 6 months reserves or something like that. And, both Laura and I are loan officers, so we both know this stuff, right? So, um, when you do that, like someone that is homeless, right, with a good credit score and a little bit of assets can come in and turn around and do these flips, right? You go out and you buy because what they start out with is a hard money loan, right? They start out with a hard money loan, they jump in, they get this done, they do the flip, and then they come back, they do a refinance, they rent it out, do a refinance, get the house to where it's really, really good, get the cash back out, keep it renting so that it's paying for itself, take the money that they receive from it and start over on a new one, right? Do hard money loan again. And if you, I think maybe after like 2 or 3 hard money loans, you probably don't need hard money loans anymore. And you can just go ahead and move forward and use the capital that you have. Of course, you know, flippers, real estate investors, guys like us, we like to be highly leveraged. And so we'll keep the money in the bank and we'll go out there and get additional money, other people's money to actually get it done. Right. So if you didn't want to use flips, you don't have to. But utilizing these strategies, like so earlier you were saying that some people are like pay the mortgage off, right? I think, look, if you're an average person, yes, pay your mortgage off. But if you ever want to be above that, I would say $3 million mark, right? And you want to earn it fast. And let's say you're young, it doesn't even matter if you're young, if you're old or young or middle aged, whatever group you're in, if you have enough ability to analyze and determine how to do these flips, dude, you can turn around and build a whole team around it. And if you can do that, if you're doing like 3 flips a year, or 3, maybe not 3 flips, but 3, you're going to be doing flips and bursts together, right? Because there's some of the properties you're not going to want to keep, other properties you're going to want to keep, right? And so you're probably going to be doing them together. But if you do 3 transactions a year, I say maybe about in 5 years, you'll probably be up in the $1 million mark, right? So like
Mhm.
it's still long term. You're not gonna be like, okay, if you go ham and you have some money right now, you might be able to move faster, but the likelihood is that it's a long-term investment. You gotta think 5 years from now before you make that first mill. Could you go faster? Yeah, absolutely. But my thoughts are on average, and this is my personal opinion average, right? It's not something that I researched on, but what I'm seeing is people are doing it they're becoming millionaires in about 5 years. And if not 5, maybe 10 years. And some people would be super happy with $1 million after 10 years. Right. And I'd like to add, on flips, like tons of people are like, it's super risky, you shouldn't do it. It is like gambling. I completely disagree. You have to have your underwriting down, right? So this is how I do mine, right? So that you're profitable. When you go in, when you're doing a flip, the intention is to sell it. However, if you can't, you have to have different strategies. Are you going to rent it long term? Are you going to rent it short term? Are you going to turn it into a group home, right? You have to have all of these ideas available to you, right? Do you have an investor that will partner with you if you're halfway done, you can't get it past the finish line, right? There's so many different ways that you can do business. You just have to think outside of the box. Do not stay inside your box, because if you do, you probably will end up losing money. But let's say the flips, you make money at the buy. You do not make money at the sell. Because if you're thinking you're gonna make money at the sell, you're gonna be in trouble. So when you go in, how I do it is I take a look at the property, right? They send me the ARV, right? Meaning the after repair value, to determine, okay, this house, once it's fully fixed and everything's clean on it, it's all done, how much could I actually sell it for? And let's just say for easy numbers, you can sell it for 100,000, right? The most that I would buy it for, and this is my personal number, right, is 80%, right? 80% is the max minus repair costs, right? And so, and how I do that is, so $80,000 is the max I would offer on the house. So if it costs $50,000 to repair the house, the max, you would subtract that from the 80, and the max would be 30, right? 30%. Now, when calculating out, and like, does that make sense so far, Laura? Like, I just
Oh,
want to make sure.
I wasn't listening.
Okay. All right. All right. So,
Go on. Go
so
on.
yeah, 80% of the ARV is what I would buy it at, minus the repair costs. And so it now, where people run into trouble is they don't know the repair costs. So
Mhm.
when I go in, right, and I take a look at everything, I've done a couple of flips, so I have a pretty good idea, and I've fixed house like for a while now. I have a pretty good idea of how much things are going to cost. I can walk in and be like, okay, cabinets, let's say that's going to be probably somewhere between 10 to 15,000. We'll say 13,000, right? If it's a lot of cabinets, it's going to be like that. Especially, it's going to be 20 if you're going to be putting what is it, granite countertops and stuff like that in there. But if you're only going to do, the vinyl coverings, right, on top of the countertops, you could probably get away with like 10,000, right? But let's just say, you have to be conservative. do $13,000. You look at the floor and you look at all of the floor, like I'd say about 800 square foot house, right, would probably cost about $4,000 to do, right? And like these are things that I just know because I've been doing it, right? So if you can guesstimate like that, right? After you're done with all of the numbers, right? Of course, you guesstimate on the high side, right? And then after you're done guesstimating or having your contractor run through it, you also increase that repair cost by 25%. And the reason you do that is because there are so many unknowns. When you start tearing out a wall, all of a sudden you find a leak. You find the leak, all of a sudden you find out that the pipe is not working correctly. And then now you're going down this trail chasing after multiple problems, one after another, after another, after another. So you have to be prepared for that. And how I do it, how I prepare for that is I add another 25% to the repair costs, right? And so once you determine that and you do a transaction, the likelihood, and this is speaking from experience. So if you guys are like, no, I can do it without doing all these numbers, right? I can go in, I can buy a house, and I think I could make it work, right? Because you're so anxious just to get started, dude, you're gonna. I mean, my first house I got messed up on. So
You're
like
speaking from experience then.
yeah, I am 100% speaking from experience. Make sure, like, one, like, don't like I don't recommend buying a house sight unseen because that's what I did. And when I did that, right, there was standing water in the house, which
Oof.
caused, like $10,000 more than I expected, right? So,
Whew.
um, yeah, exactly, right? So my thoughts are make sure you plug all these in, you be conservative on the numbers, and when you go in, if it doesn't work, don't buy it. Don't jump
Yeah.
into it. If you
So
jump into it, you're gonna lose money. Yeah.
so you just went through a whole flipping episode here, but anyway, let's
Yeah.
so like we said, right? So investing is one of the things that Johnny and I, we started on right after we started making pretty good decent amount of money stacking up,
Mhm,
right? Like the hell do we do with all this money, right? So of course the next logical thing is, oh, let's put it into some type of real estate investing. So Johnny sounds like he went to a flip. I went to
mhm,
do a burr slash rental. Since then we've done a normal number of things. I've done syndications, I've done short-term rentals. Johnny's done private money lending, things like that.
mhm,
Um, but along the way, the next thing that we do, right, besides investing, we're both active real estate agents and loan officers.
mhm.
So, and we're full time. Now, this is a full time gig for us.
Yeah.
Um, so just to give you guys some perspective, a lot of real estate agents out there, the average sale or 50% last year, 50% of real estate agents did one or zero sales, right? And then something like 75% did five or less, right? So you might be thinking, wow, it's probably either really, really hard to be a real estate agent or these people just aren't putting the effort or they just suck, right? So, you know, but that's not what that's not us. We don't fall in that category, right? So we actually do sell quite a bit of homes, and there is a lot of upside to the real estate industry if you put in the effort, if you treat it as a business. You can make six figures quite easily, right? um so it just all depends, right? If you how hard you work, things like that, right? On top of that, um, as real estate agents, like Johnny has just said earlier, one of the things that I really like about being a real estate agent is that we are helping people with the biggest purchase of their life, right?
Mhm,
Whether they're
mhm.
first time
Absolutely.
investor, move up investor, they want to build first time home buyer, or they want to be a move up buyer, build their forever home, their dream home, right?
Yep.
Johnny's helped people with new construction homes. I've done that as well. And then since we're both investors as well, we have the investor perspective, right? The investor mindset. And so from that standpoint, we're kind of like helping people solve their real estate problems, right? So I'm sure you guys have heard that the bigger the problem that you can solve for people, the more money that you're gonna end up making, right? And
Mhm,
so obviously, real estate problems, they're very big, right? Especially for investor clients. Investors are people who have too much money, right? They they don't know what to do with it, right? So it's kind of opposite of buyers, home buyers, your normal home buyers. And so that's where we come in, right? We come in as their kind of wealth expert, like, hey, all right, so here's your portfolio as it stands. Here's your funds, right? Here's your equity that you have in your current portfolio. Here's what we can do with it, and here's what we could recommend, right? And so, when people come talk to us, we kind of have to take a look and um, give them a game plan, custom game plan. Everybody has a different financial profile, right? Everybody's at a different
Mhm.
point, right? Um, and their budgets are different. Their comfort level is different, right? Some may want to do flips. Some may want to do rentals. Some may want to do short-term rentals, right? So we kind of have to educate them on the different strategies and what works best for them. And so I think that's one of the coolest things that I enjoy doing is, helping my investors that come to me and say, "Hey, Laura, I want to buy property in Milwaukee." Um, and then, I asked them, "Hey, do you want cash flow? Is that important to you? Is that the most important thing to you?" Right? If that is, then I say, "Okay, here's your options." Right? But if they come to me and they say, "Well, I don't really want, cash flow is not priority. I want to build equity, right? I want to get appreciation, right?" So, okay, cool. Well, then this is your budget now. And, I would recommend you look at these areas, right? And so, now we're like looking at different areas, different budgets, and it all depends, right? Does it match? So that's how I work in the real estate world. What about you, Johnny? What do you do with your clients?
Yeah, so a lot of my clients are actually, like either upgrading. Well, I would say a lot of my clients are upgrading on their homes, right? So they come in and I help them figure out, where their price point is to sell their house, to, make as much profit as possible. Well, you give them pricing strategies and so on. And then after they buy, we also have to prepare for their move to the next house, right? So then they're coming in and they're looking to buy the next house, and the next house usually is going to be a bigger, better house. Oftentimes I sell new constructions to clients, and when we sell new constructions, they're going in and they're trying to buy the best case scenario. And when you're working with clients who are going to buy new construction, a lot of people think that I'll just go straight to the builder, right? You go straight to the builder and you're going to get whatever the builder says, right? You come to someone like me, we negotiate. And that allows them to be able to be put in a better position. Sometimes all of their closing costs will be paid, right? And we definitely, really, really help out our clients so that they can do better and, of course, solve their problems. Now, sometimes because they're selling their current home, right? They have to sell their current home before they actually buy a new one for qualification purposes, right? From a loan perspective. And they need the equity from their house to buy the new house. Well, then sometimes we're doing simul closings, right? And if you don't have a realtor that's going to give you advice on how to do it, you're going to run to moving issues. Like recently I had a client that they didn't listen to me, right? And I had said a month out, I was like, hey guys, in 2 weeks, you need to schedule out all of your movers. You got to schedule out, you got to have everything boxed up in the next 2 weeks, right? And have everything ready so that once you get that U-Haul on that day, you're moving stuff, right? And you want to do that a week before closing. You want to get it all in the U-Haul, and you might have to have the U-Haul for more than, 2-3 days. So, like, don't try to save money on the U-Haul. Like, go ahead and, if you need me to pay for it, sometimes I'll pay for a couple of days for the U-Haul just to make sure they have, like, 4 days worth of time with the U-Haul so that they can actually make this move and make it smooth as possible. And you got people that, really, really needs that help and that structure to be able to get them so that they can move in. And, some of these folks, like, they think they can do it in one day, and like, and it's not, I'm not saying that you can't, because they definitely did, but man, it is rough. They don't sleep, right? The clients don't sleep because they're like, what are we gonna do? Are we getting ready for closing? We got to move to the next house. We got like a billion ones go things go through their minds, and you have to be there to support them and help them. And things come up, and you got to solve those problems quickly as fast as possible so that everything can move smoothly for them. And of course, luckily, they had me as a realtor, so everything turned out just fine, right? um but yeah, you're helping them with all this stuff. And then, for my investor clients, right, I'm oftentimes looking for investment properties myself. So as I'm looking, and if I see something good, right, I'll introduce it to them. And it's like you said, Lord, they have some not all of my investors, but some of my investors, some of my investors are new investors, right? So they just want to get in, right? So they're
Mhm.
just waiting, like they're like, I just want to buy a duplex. I want to live in one side. I want a house hack, get the other side rented. And that's fine. If you're buying, your primary home and it's a duplex and investment property, that's totally fine. We can help you with that process. But then of course you have those that, have the money problems. They're like, okay, Johnny, I need you to come out and figure out a strategy for me where I'm going to save the most out of my taxes, right? And oftentimes I'm like, look, I'm not a CPA, right? First of all, not a CPA, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a financial advisor, but I know enough to coach you based on what my previous clients have done. And I think that, short-term rental might be your way, or purchasing a fourplex might be the direction that you need to go. And then, of course, we look for those properties um, that actually makes sense, right? So I crunch numbers for my clients. I don't know if you do that, Laura, but I really analyze the property. Of course, they have to analyze the property themselves, right? Because it's their risk; they're going in, right? But I'll analyze it. I'll send over my worksheets and everything, and I'll say, okay, so this is what I like. If it was me, I'm looking at it from my perspective as an investor, which is a conservative investor. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive, that's totally fine, but these are my numbers. Here you go. And then they'll take it and they'll analyze it and they'll look at it. And if they are like, we want to be more aggressive, then I'll be like, okay, let's go in, let's make the deal happen. Or if they're like, you know what, you're right, Johnny. I looked at all the numbers. This number on this house actually looks profitable. So let's go ahead and move forward on that one. Right. So we're doing some due diligence that I think that most agents, I would probably say like we're like top 1%. If you can calculate out, like there's not many investor agents out there. People who invest are in real estate. I think every realtor should be, because you're the one seeing the deals first, right? You're the ones that are talking to your clients and they're trying to get rid of their properties, or you're trying to help them get rid of their properties, or their family members' properties. You should see the deals first, and if you see it's a good opportunity, you should jump in. Of course, don't take advantage of your clients, right? Make sure you're doing taking care of them and providing fiduciary responsibility and making sure they get the most out of whatever it is that they need. But if a deal comes across your desk and it's too good to be true, you might want to pick it up yourself, right? So I think every realtor should also do that. But that's how I handle my clients, right? And that's how we get active income when we come out there and you just really, really help people and care for people. Like some of my clients are retired people, they're moving from their house into a senior care living facility, or assisted living facility, and they're like, hey Johnny, we really need your help, but we don't want to fix anything, right? We don't have the capacity to fix anything right now. We don't have the money, plus we don't have the strength to really repair the roof and so on, right?
Right.
um so I would say, hey, we have programs for that. We have things that we have investors that can make offers on your house as is, or we'll work with people who will come out and fix your house, and then once the house is sold, you can pay them, right? They'll likely put a lien on your property, but you're going to be selling your property anyways. And so if you're retiring and you're having that difficult situation, we offer solutions. And that's what I think. I think like the best part of being a real estate agent is you're really helping people. One, you're helping them accomplish their dreams. The second one, you're helping them accomplish their wealth, right? Growth. The third one is you're helping them with their lifestyle changes. And you have to, really love on people and care for people and protect those people, because people take advantage of older folks, and that's not something that we want to see happen. So I
Yep.
do think that you should do your best. And of course, sometimes, like so for example, Right now, I have two pocket listings, right? Listings that probably won't come on the market for a while because they're just not ready yet. But if someone offers the right price, hey, they might be willing to move early, right? And so when you have stuff like that where you're a realtor, of course, we can't advertise those, right? It just stays within the brokerage. But we do help them with this process. And if there is like an investor that wants to buy it, we of course have that conversation with the people, right? And so the active income as a real estate agent, that's the direction that I take it. Did you want me to go into doing the mortgage brokerage stuff or the loan officer
That'll
stuff?
be next. That'll be next. But
Yeah, yeah.
no, I think what you just said is like really good. Like um, we're not here to convince people, like consumers, buyers, sellers, investors, to do something, right?
Hmm,
We're
hmm.
That's not our role. We're not, that's I guess the public kind of thinks that's what we're here
Yeah,
to do, right? We're
absolutely.
here to sell people on things. No, we're not. We're here to help you do what you want to do, right?
Hmm,
If what you
hmm,
want to do is buy a house, we're gonna help you buy a house, right? The best way that you can. If you want to sell a house, I'm gonna help you sell the house that makes sense for you, right? Honestly,
hmm,
last 2 weeks, right before I left to EXPCon, I had 2 listing appointments, and I lost both listings because after I talked to both sellers, they both realized that, you know what, it doesn't make sense for me to sell right now in this current market, right? We appreciate your honesty about the current market conditions, what a house is worth. And I told them if that was me, I wouldn't sell right now. I would keep it, right? And
hmm,
or I would
hmm.
do this. I would fix it up a little bit when the tenants get out, and then we would put it on the market in spring, right? Where
Mhm.
you're going to have a better client pool, and then prices, hopefully, the market's going to be better, right?
Yep.
And the big thing is if you can afford to wait, right? And some people may not. Some people may be like, you know what, I need this gone right now. Like,
Mhm.
okay, don't worry, I got you. I got a whole network of investors that we can go directly to off market, or we could put on the market and then see what happens. But obviously, you have to set the expectation that, hey, the current condition that's in, you're not going to get top dollar. So don't, don't
Mhm.
even think that, right? Otherwise, it's going to sit. So, and then of course, like you mentioned, with our brokerage, we have a institutional cash buyer program where we could go to our sellers and be like, hey, you know what? If you want to leave it, sell it as is, we have cash buyers who are ready to go if it fits their buy box, right? So if they don't want to go on the market, we can offer them that. We have a partnership with Open Door, right? Uh,
Mhm. Mhm.
so, something that Johnny was going to get into is that we're actually, we're both a licensed loan officer and real estate agent as well, which doubles the amount of opportunities for us that we're able to have, and obviously adds even another source of income for us, right? Um,
Mhm.
all within integrated what we're doing already in real estate, right? Um,
Mhm.
and it's not like we're trying. Some people say, oh well, if you, first of all, if you don't know, we can, as a licensed professional in a real estate agent role and a loan officer role, we can be both the buyer agent and the loan officer for the same client, right? And
Yep.
so, a lot of people are like, oh, well, that's a conflict of interest. Well, no, that's not right. As long as the client approves of it, right? And, we properly disclose that, hey, we're both.
Mhm.
And if you choose to use me to do both of those things, I'm going to get compensated to do both of those, right? The advantages are, of course, that it's one stop shop, right? One person to talk to, right? And sometimes, us being in the profession of on both sides, the agent and the loan officer, sometimes we have to deal with people who are not quite as easy to work with on the other side. And sometimes, it's frustrating for the client to be in the middle of that, right? Because, we're like, well, as an agent, I can't answer that for you, right? Because I'm not the loan officer. So you have to go back to the loan officer and answer them that, right? And it is frustrating, especially now that we're licensed, I'm licensed as both. I know the process, or I know what I would do as the loan officer, but I don't want to step on their toes, right? And you got to keep things professional, right? So like, hey, I can't tell you what should have been done, but really need to talk to the loan officer, right? Because that's not my role in this transaction. You made that decision, right? You made that decision to hire them, so you need to talk to them, right? So anything, what other advantages are there, Johnny, that we benefit from for being both licenses both?
Well, I think you kind of covered it. You do make that income. I think benefits for my clients, right? Like all of my clients that have come through me and have done both, they're saving money, right? They're saving money coming through me. Like I might take a lesser commission on the real estate piece because I'm also getting it on the mortgage side, or might give them a better rate and get the full commission on the realtor side, right? There's things that we're doing that are really, really helping where we can show, like I can show documentation, right? Of course, it's all private information because this is real people's information, right? And we got to keep our information secure. But like, if I were ever to, be called into a court, I can show that, hey, when they come through me, they're saving way more money when they're not, right? And in addition to the cost savings, right? Um, we are also like, look, I'm gonna be like, and I don't want to rip on the community, right? Because I love realtors, I love loan officers, but when you're doing both, you just have way more knowledge, right? You have way more knowledge over the real estate side. You have way more knowledge over the loan side. You have a total complete understanding of the whole entire process from A to Z, right? And you can guide them so much better. Like I've had clients that even on the loan officer side, where the day before closing, I'll call them up and we'll have the closing disclosures. They would have already had it for a day where they could look at it, right? I'll call them back and say, hey, do you have any questions on any of these line items that you're going to be paying for? Now's the time to ask before you actually go to closing, right? Because usually we're clear to close in 2 weeks, right? So we have plenty of time to kind of talk about it. And usually we're talking about it early on, but the day before closing, right, you're going to be reiterating it. It's like, okay, so these are going to be your final numbers. You're going to have to bring a check for this much, and I'll go over every single line item with them and say, hey, so this is for this is the cost for this is the cost for this. Like I have to explain all of the escrows, right? Escrowing for tax and insurance. And now, like if you're on the West Coast, right, you're looking at escrow as the closing, right? So you escrow on one day and then you have the final funds on one day, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about escrowing taxes and insurance, right? So you're explaining, okay, why do you need a cushion? Why do you need to collect for, some customers will come and say, hey, I already paid a whole year worth of insurance. Like, why do I still have to give you guys an additional 3 months cushion, right? That doesn't make any sense. But you're like, wait, so there's gonna be a month that you're gonna skip. There's gonna be, your amount's gonna be due on this day. We're gonna have to have a cushion because the likelihood is that your premiums are gonna go up. So we don't want to we want to make sure we have enough money to cover for it, rather than giving you a call and saying, hey, you have to actually pay extra, right? And so I'm explaining all these details to them, and 9 times out of 10, the ones that already bought houses before will say, dude, how come no one ever went through this with me? And I'll be like, I can't explain why anyone didn't go through it with you, but we provide, high level service. And so that's why we go over all of this stuff with you. So you're not surprised at closing. And so you're doing a better job. Plus, when the closing date's going to be, right? So you're making sure that even though, we're already 2 weeks in, oftentimes, right? And it's not going to be all the time. Sometimes it actually takes the full 30 days, but we know exactly when the closing date is. And we're as invested as you are. And I'm going to be honest, I'm invested no matter what, right? We're invested in you as our clients, right? And invested in my specific clients. If you guys are realtors out there watching this or want to become a realtor, I'm invested in my clients. I have fiduciary responsibility over them. I have their best interests in mind, right? And so I want to make sure I take care of them like how I want to be taken care of, with high level service. And so I think it's really important that we do all those things. But yeah, you can make income, right? You can make income from on those things. And then in addition to that, I'd like to add that, not only can you earn income from being a realtor, selling homes, helping people buy homes, not only can you be a loan officer and get the purchase of the transaction, but you can also do refinances to help them get them in a better financial situation, help them do home equity loans, help them with DSCR when they start to invest, help them with transactions that requires more or less down payment and so on. You're able to help them on so many different directions that most people don't know how to do. Like, I'm going to be honest, bankers don't know how to do some of the things that we do. And then finally, I'd like to add that, and I'm talking pretty fast here because our time is like running out. So the last thing I want to add is that, as a realtor, we can also refer out to make money, right? So if, let's say, for example, we're not licensed in, California, and someone comes to us in Minnesota, like, so I'm in Minnesota, right? Someone comes to me and is like, hey, my brother in California wants to buy a house. Can you help? Well, it's first of all, I'm going to be like, yes, I can help, but no, I can't do the transaction, right? Because I'm not licensed in California, but we'll make sure one of my partners out in California takes care of you guys. And so referrals can also make you a decent income as well. And referrals are going to be negotiable. So it depends on what you negotiate and how much you can actually get out of that. So back to you. I'm going to push it back to you, Laura.
No, I mean,
The
it's
last
all
one.
good. I think, I think the time's fine. We'll just keep talking until we
Go
finish.
over.
Yeah. So no, I think you mentioned, right, like, if you are licensed as both, right? If you take the time to get the licensing for both the education, the expense, all that stuff, the benefits are huge. The benefits are huge, just
Mhm.
like you said, educational standpoint, skill set standpoint. You're gonna separate yourself so far from the other realtors, just like you said, right? And there's a reason why the realtors out there who are selling one home or five or less homes are selling the numbers that they are, right? It
Mhm.
comes down
Mhm.
to skills, right? And
Mhm.
that's one of the biggest fears that a lot of people will ask about. Oh, um, dude, I know like 10 realtors. Isn't it saturated? Like, yeah, it is,
Mhm.
right? Like, every person knows at least 5 realtors probably, right?
Mhm.
But the thing is, you're gonna I mean, most people should be using the person they think that can help them the best, right? But sometimes you're like, "Oh, well, that's my family, that's my friend, I'm gonna use them." Right? That's fine too, but,
Mhm.
you pay for what you get, right? But, also on the realtor side, right, there's only certain things that we can do as a realtor, right? So, obviously,
Mhm.
we can help buy, sell, invest, but if the market were to turn, right, all of a sudden the rates drop, guess what? All those clients that we just helped buy homes, if you're not a licensed loan officer, you cannot help them refinance, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
the refinance wave is gonna come, right? The
Yep.
last couple of years, rates have been 6 to 8%. If the rates drop below 6, which it
It's
kinda has,
refi time. Yeah.
it's already refi time, quite honestly. But if
Yeah.
it goes even stronger below, mid 5s, oh, it's gonna be a flood, right? A flood of things
Yeah,
refi.
my clients are already beginning to give me a call back, right? And I'm
Right.
like, "Hey guys, like we expect, at least one more this year, so at least wait for that, and then in January we can make this
Oh,
happen for
yeah.
you guys.
It's coming soon, it's
Take
coming soon.
the holidays off."
Yeah, and then, of course, we can also do HELOCs and then the cash out refi and the DSCR refis, right?
Mhm.
Um, and that's kinda where, like, I was talking to you earlier about how I lost that one listing. Well, I was telling them, like, quite honestly, if you wanna sell because you just wanna get money out, there's a couple other options I can provide for you, right?
Mhm.
Where you don't need to sell, right? As long as your property can cash flow to cover the mortgage, the new one, right? The higher, take out your equity and then cover that. We can do a cash out refi. We could do a DSCR cash out refi, right? You keep your
Mhm.
property. You're going to get the money that you need to go do whatever you need to do. And, it's all good. You can keep holding it and keep investing, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that's the option we're looking at right now. So, uh,
Nice, nice.
yeah. So, I mean, there's so many perks to this. And, you know, uh, if you're both, obviously, like Johnny's touched on, if you want to refer on the agent side, right? You can refer. You don't want to be the agent. You don't want to run around show homes, right? That's kind of me. I'm talking about myself right now. Um, right? You don't want to show homes anymore. Well, guess what? If you generate the lead, you could refer that buyer to another agent for a referral fee, where you get paid a small fee. Um, and then you can work the loan side, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can earn when you have both licenses. And being an LO is you work from. I work from home. I'm pretty sure Johnny works from home too.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I have an
you know,
office, but I usually
you
work
can
from
work.
home.
Yeah, you can work from anywhere
Anywhere.
with computer and Wi-Fi, right? As an LO, right?
Yeah.
And the nice part is, as an LO, you can also get licensed in multiple states. So whatever state you want to get licensed in, go apply for the license, pay the fees, right? Take a couple extra hours of testing, whatever. You're good to go. So now you're not limited anymore on
The
physical
location.
limits, right?
Yeah.
Of distance, driving, right? And also if you're in a smaller price market like I am, Milwaukee, right, where average sales price is like 300,000. Well, guess what? I can go get licensed in California, where probably the average price is what, 700,000, six
Mhm.
hundred, depending where. Depending where, it could be a million, right? Now all of a sudden I'm doing $1 million transactions, right? And I didn't even leave
Mhm.
my house. So it's very powerful, and you can combine now. So the next thing that we're going to move on to talk about is additional passive income opportunities on the agent and the LO side, right? So this is more so related to, depending on which brokerage you're with, right? But there's opportunities here. So um, opportunities for things like stock ownership, right? If your company offers stocks, right? Could be private stocks, could be public, right? So at EXP Realty, we're both with EXP Realty. EXP is a publicly traded company. It's ticker symbol EXPI. Anybody can go buy EXP stock, right? Anybody can see the performance of the company, right? But as agents at EXP, one of the cool things is that we can actually earn stocks just through everyday normal real estate related activities, right? When we sell our first home for the first transaction for the year, we're gonna get rewarded a little bit of EXP stock. Like it's like $200 or something like that. And then other events, like if we cap, right? So if we cap on our split to the company, we go 100% commission moving forward for the rest of the year. But we also earn, the company awards us $400 in stock award for the achievement of capping that year, right? So that right there, that's already $600. And then if you want to participate in bringing other agent partners over to EXP, every time you do that, um, the company will reward you $400 in EXP stock for growing the company, right? Bringing other partners on. There is another huge stock award called the EXP Icon Agent Award, basically the top producer award at EXP. And how you achieve that is you first have to cap, so you earn 100% commission, and then you have to cap on the transaction fees. So instead of paying a 20% split to the company, once you cap, you would pay $250 per transaction only. And when you pay a total of $5,000, which is 20 transactions if you do the math, you would achieve the EXP Icon Award. So, and that again gives you the $16,000, which pretty much covers all of your cap, right, that you paid to EXP. So you're going to be like 100% essentially for that year. Um, so that's pretty cool that EXP offers that opportunity for the agents that work for them to have ownership, right? Not a lot of companies will offer that. And then at EXP, which is also unique, is the revenue share model, which you know if you think about it, it's essentially EXP offering a way for real estate agents to build their own brokerage underneath EXP, right? So what that means more is like you're offering the opportunity for other agents out there to partner with you at EXP. And when they do so, right, the goal is that you help them to be successful agents. You teach them, you mentor them, You kind of teach them everything that you know, right? So that they're successful. They're good at what they do. And when they achieve success, you're also going to be rewarded a little bit of their commission, right? Um, but it actually comes from from the company split, the 20%, right, that the company takes. So it's not really their commission necessarily, but EXP will actually share that 20% split that take. They share 50% of that back to you. So that 10%, the 20% the company takes is shared 50-50. 10% goes to EXP. So 10% goes to EXP to keep the lights on, right? To make the stocks good, all that stuff. And then the other 10% goes to the revenue share participants, the agents who participate in the revenue share. So that gets, divvied back up to those agents who are growing the company, who are helping the company to grow. And that can, you can do both of these things all along the way. So like active agent sales, right? And then you can also go out and find partners on the as well. So basically, you're building two sources of income as a real estate agent. Other things that EXP offers, if you're interested in earning additional sources of income, and if you're an experienced agent, you can offer to be a mentor, right? So you can sign up to be part of the mentor program where you mentor brand new agents that come on. You would be rewarded for the first 3 sales, right? When that new agent is in the mentor program. And then you can also build your own formal agent team, right? So if you wanted to start your own formal team, the way teams work, right, is that you will get a team lead split, right? So you get an override on all of your team's production, right? So if that's something that you're interested in, you could do that too, right? The other interesting part is that if Johnny's not part of Nexa, but I am. So at Nexa is essentially the EXP of the mortgage world, right? So Nexa's business model is modeled right after EXP, very similar. So essentially what that allows you to do is, Nexa doesn't really have stock ownership right now, but they do have rev share model, and they have coaching, right? You could be a coach there if you wanted to. And then you can also build your own formal branch where you can override over your the LOs in your group, right? So if you do get dual licensed and you are interested in both opportunities, you could build both sides on the agent side and the LO side. So those are pretty much all the different ways that we have been working on being able to build our income, right? Building our wealth pathways here that we've been working on. So
Yeah, can I add something?
yeah,
So, as everybody know, we're both with EXP. We both went out to EXPCon. We learned a ton over there. And I just want to say that, for the rev share, one of the people out there that I met, he showed me his rev share, right? And he gave me a formula to reach the level he's at, right? So I think he's making approximately like 30,000 a month, right? Nothing to sneeze at, right? For him, that's just a small part of his income. He's got a lot of other things going on, but he makes approximately $30,000 a month, and he shared this, and this is like just on a whim, but this is what he said to me, right? He said, "Hey Johnny, if you want to build rev share like what I got, um, all you have to do is sit on 3 calls a day, 5 days a week, and maybe weekends if you can't get them to schedule on the weekdays, maybe weekends, right? But mostly 3 calls a day, 5 days a week for the next 3 years. Spend about 2 hours, doing the rev share model per day. The likelihood is that you you're gonna let's see, you're gonna reach this in about 3 to 5 years. So, and when that rev share model, you don't actually have to close anything, right? You don't have to be doing business. Of course, I would recommend that you continue to bring people into the model, right? to continue that amount. But you don't have to do anything more than bring them in, provide them proper coaching, make sure they can actually do business, make sure they actually are making money themselves, right? And you're bringing these people in, you're helping them grow, and you get rev share from them. And he's like, dude, go out there and do it, dude. It's worth it. Like, because I'm more of an agent, right? I'm more of the type that I'm all about production. And the rev share model is great. It's nice to have it there, but it's not a big deal to me, right? It's not something I even want to chase after. But like I said, $30,000 a month, makes you think twice. So, and if it's only 2 hours a day, like, I think anyone can do it, even part-time people can do it. So, I think EXP, I think, like, a lot of people EXP all over everybody, right? But, um, we don't do that. Like, we're here to help people succeed, and if you hear us out, I think we can change some people's lives for the better. And if you really wanna grow, I think this is where you do it because there's so much collaboration at EXP. And so, I mean, shameless plug, right? Shameless plug. We're both with EXP. We would love to, have conversations with you. I don't just take anybody at EXP. If you don't want to be here, I really don't want you to be here. But if you want to be here, you want to learn, you want to grow, you want to collaborate, you want to do things with us, we'll work with you. And even if you're already at EXP, we'll still work with you, right? Even if we're not, you're not in my rev share group, dude. Like at EXP here, everybody helps everybody. Like the way we look at it is, hey, we paid $150 to start up a brokerage, right? No one else can really say that. Like, we paid $150. We can start up a brokerage. We can do our real estate business. We can level up together. We get all the help that we need from every direction. People like within the company, we all help each other because it's all our brokerage together, even though we're kind of running our own brokerages as well. It's a phenomenal platform. So again, shameless plug. But if you have been thinking about it and you just want to talk to somebody, or you're not in it and you want to talk to somebody, reach out. I don't want to take you away from your current brokers, right? And I have a lot of broker friends. I don't want to take you away from any of them. I would rather they just join us, right? So that we can all do it together. But if they don't want to, and you are looking to move anyways, right? You're looking for another broker to go to because you're not receiving the help that you need at your brokerage, give us a call. Maybe we might be an option, right? So, in addition to that, hey, look, I think Laura and I want more loan officers too. So, like,
For sure, for
if
sure.
if another shameless plug, Win-Win Financial, right, is the mortgage brokerage that I run. If you want to join us, just hit me up. And Laura with Nexa, if you want to join him, hit him up. We both do good business, and we're out here to help all of our clients, as well as anybody who wants to be in the business to grow and become better and serve their customers and their clients to the best of their abilities. So that's
Yep.
all I had to add.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I mean, you're right. We're not just looking to take anybody with a pulse, right? You got to have the right fit, right, and
Mhm.
the right mindset, right.
Mhm.
Um, so, but at the end of the day, it's just like, quite honestly, if you're a real estate agent already, or you're a loan officer already, this is just like working with clients. You're talking to other folks. You want to know what their problems are, right? What do they need help with to get the level their business to the level they want, right? Um, a lot of people out there, a lot of LOs, a lot of agents starting out, they have no clue what they're doing, right? They don't know that they're running a business, right? They need help, right? And like Johnny said, there's a lot of good brokerages out there, right? And we're not trying to say we're the best, but
But we're the best.
but the thing is, you have to find the one that works the best for you, right? And if you just want to
Agreed.
have the conversation to find out what is out there, what it's really like, because there's people who may talk about EXP or Nexa, but they have no clue what the hell they're talking about, right? They don't even
Mhm.
understand the model themselves. So they're not telling you the right things, right? But if you're interested in either one, anything loan officer life or agent life, right? Feel free to reach out, talk to us, and we'll tell you like it is. And if you're interested to join, then, go ahead, sign up. If you're not, no worries. It's not right now. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for the show this week. Johnny, you want to take us out and talk about our next week's show?
Yeah, yeah. Before I do that, I want to say, hey, look, all these things we stacked on income over income over income, right? And we build each one at a time, and we waited until we mastered one before we moved on to the other. And so, combining all of these activities that are related to the same thing allows us to grow our income in a number of different ways. And so, I want to make sure you guys are aware of that. Go out there. If it's not real estate and it's something else, if there's something we can help you with, even if it's not real estate, just let us know. We'll do our best to help you out. But as for this episode, this concludes our episode. Next week we're gonna be introducing an investor. He's done flips, he's done syndications, he's done short-term rentals, and actually he has a pretty decent sized short-term rental right now. We're just gonna be interviewing him, right? We're gonna be going over, how he does his business, so that you guys can get some ideas on how to do business in real estate. And then I think the week after that we have another person planned. It's going to be more so commercial real estate, and we're looking to get some attorneys on, as well as some and attorneys in multiple different things, from anything from bringing people with trust on that can explain, estates, right? It'd be awesome to have one of those, as well as someone who is a real estate attorney that can just talk about, hey, what do you run into when you're doing real estate transactions, or one to formulate, like, okay, so do we have more than one LLC? And if you guys know someone that you guys want on the show, feel free to reach out and let us know about that. Same way, if there's something that you guys really, really want to hear about, feel free to also message us, DM us. But more than anything, make sure you like, share, subscribe our show, and just let us know if there's anything we can help you with. And with that, that's our episode.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.